Ellis Island, the port for immigrants entering America until 1954, is now a museum. Well, actually, only part of it is. Another part is a ruin, a whole set of abandoned buildings on the south side of the island. What's that look like? Is it worth restoring? Something people have been trying to do for 15 years. Fortunately, in 2002, photographer Paul Margolis managed to capture the Ellis Island we visitors don't get to see. His work, Hidden Ellis Island, is now on display at St. Peter's Church in Manhattan. Joining us, photographer Paul Margolis. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we're going to see a number of your photographs. Set this up for us. What were you doing there in 2002? What were you shooting with? Why?
Well, at the time, I was using a film camera. And that particular day, I was there with people from an organization that was trying to raise funds to restore the south part of the island, the unrestored part of the island. And my original intention was to do 35 millimeter quick rapid photography and come back with a larger format of camera that would give greater sharpness, more detail. And for a number of reasons, it never really worked out. So the images that I intended to use as notes ended up as the project.
So let's look at image number one. What do we have here?
These are doors to a hospital, quarantine, mortuary wing, and they were just open.
They had a mortuary wing and a hospital?
They did, yes.
On Ellis Island?
They had a maternity wing as well, I understand. And over the years, I don't know the exact figure, but a number of people died there. They would come sick with diseases that in today's world probably were curable, and they would die.
Why there? If people think of Ellis Island as a big, say, customs station, it was more than that? You didn't just arrive and move through into the city?
The vast majority of people did, but there were inspectors and doctors throughout the whole process, so that if somebody looked ill or was coughing or had a strange-looking growth or inflamed eye.
Because you weren't allowed in with certain kinds of conditions.
Right. So people would be quarantined. There was a quarantine wing there. And some people were so sick that they actually died. Others actually were sent back to wherever they came from.
Slide number two. What are we looking at here?
Again, this is an expanse of windows in that same wing.
So let's go right on to image number three.
This is a corridor. This actually is an interesting image because people have said that this is the maternity wing, by the way, and this faces out into the harbor on the side where the Statue of Liberty is. And people have told me in two separate exhibitions that they can see a nurse holding a baby, like a ghostly creature at the far end. Now, I know that it happens to be an open door at the end there, and that's literally the light at the end of a corridor.
I see exactly what you're referring to.
But people have said, if one person had said it, I would have dismissed it, but three people in three different exhibitions said exactly the same thing.
And for anybody who thinks there's no depth on your television screen, look how far down that hallway you can see, and all the way at the end, that figure that is an open door and some light coming through, I guess, looking like a woman holding a baby.
That's what people have said.
So what's the goal here? Well, here's the next image. All right, let's take a look at this, and then we'll take a minute before we go on to more images and talk about what the goal here is of the people who want to restore some of this. How about this one?
This was an entryway into that whole hospital wing. The island is sort of like a horseshoe. So the north side of the island has the large, has the Great Hall, has where immigrants came, and nearly all of them were processed through and went on to new lives in America. This was the entrance to the hospital, maternity, mortuary wing, where this part has since been restored. This pictures from 2002, I understand that a few years later there actually was a restoration of this much, of what you can see sort of to the end through the doors there.
But nobody can go there.
I don't believe people can. I think that possibly several times a year that part of the island is open up for special tours, but in general, no.
So who wants to do what and why?
Well, I'm out of the loop for the Ellis Island restoration because, as I said, I did this 12 years ago. But there is an interest in restoring these areas because they are as historically valid as the area where people pass through.
And so then the tourists, the visitors, will also come through there, just like we're coming through as tourists right now through these images. This one?
That's a stairway between several of the floors, also on the same wing. All of these photographs were done in the same complex of buildings, this long series of corridors and stairways.
And another.
And that image is from a secure detention area. If you notice the window, you can't really break that and escape. And something or someone broke a hole in that, and the Statue of Liberty is visible through it.
Wow, it is the Statue of Liberty, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and in the middle set of panes on the right, there's also a tiny American flag on Liberty Island.
We're going to show you a video now. Paul evolved as a photographer, technologically and journalistically, and here's a brief video. Let's watch it, and then we'll talk some more.
I understand in the abstract that zeros and ones can make images, but the idea of bits of silver being sensitized to light and then being taken through the rest of these processes is much more understandable to me. But I was a much more serious documentary photographer when I was in my 20s and 30s. And I think now a lot of it is just finding what's amusing in life, just stopping instants of things that are entertaining to me. That I don't know that I look for deep meaning or to change the world, but I like things that make me happy and entertain me. So I think that's probably part of the process of getting older. I have a gift for spotting the bizarre. I always have, even as a little kid, that I can always see the bizarreness. And it was just when I picked up the camera that allowed me to capture it. Like the bizarre and the absurd in everyday life. The things that people either don't see or would rather look away from or don't stare at. So, but I have to say that the camera has certainly given me license to intrude into all sorts of situations where otherwise I might not be welcome. So it's like a magic carpet that takes you into areas you never would have gone.
That portrait created by Brian Lehrer TV producer Shannon Ayala. Like that?
That's very good.
Do you feel that technology has changed the nature of your work? You started by saying you used film in a camera in 2002. Oh, I remember film. Now it's all digital, just about. Does it matter to what you shoot or the cultural meaning of it?
Let me see if I can answer. Well, I still shoot film. A great deal of my personal work is done even today, as in that film, with a film camera and black and white film that I process and print myself. The other side of that is work that I do during the day, which is digital because it's the modern world and what people use. I like film. I like being part of a continuum that goes back 160 years and encompasses the great picture magazines, the photography of the Great Depression, and I like the tactile nature of film. of being able to control an entire process.
Where can people see the exhibit? Until when?
It is at the called the Living Room Gallery at St. Peter's Church, Lexington Avenue and 54th Street until June 29th.
They still have jazz vespers at that church?
I think they do, yes. I've seen ads for that.
Jazz and photography at St. Peter's. Thank you for sharing it with
Okay,
us.
thank you.
And that's our program for this week. You'll find a new show here each week at this hour. Next time, what Europeans expect from the internet that Americans don't, the right to be forgotten. And tune into my radio program weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon on WNYC 93.9 FM and AM 820. I'm Brian Lehrer. Thanks for watching.